All right, so today we're going to be taking a deep dive into, you know how we're always looking at interesting conversations online, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this one is a conversation between two tech-savvy guys.
Okay.
And it got me thinking about, my own energy use and data privacy. They were talking about their solar panels.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, and then they kind of went on this tangent about the security of electronic health records in Germany.
Wow.
So we've got like personal energy production, a bit of data security,
Yeah.
and a little German bureaucracy sprinkled in.
Sounds very German.
So to kick things off, let's talk about solar.
Mm.
One of these guys, we'll just call him Speaker A,
Okay.
had a 7.3 kilowatt peak system,
Okay.
which if you want to think about that in simpler terms, it could generate enough power to run like a powerful gaming PC for hours,
Oh, wow.
or even charge an electric car for a good bit.
Okay.
But in 2024, he only generated 6.5 megawatt hours of electricity,
So interesting.
which was down from 7 the year before.
Sure, it went down.
Yeah, and he thinks it's because of the weather, more rain and cloud cover.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's a good reminder that even if you have a good solar setup, you're still kind of at the mercy of Mother Nature.
Totally. Yeah, you can't control the weather.
Exactly. And he said he was only able to use like 35 to 40%
Okay.
of the energy his panels actually made.
Directly?
Yeah, directly. That's what they call self-consumption, which is a pretty important thing when you're talking about solar.
I see.
So then you have Speaker B,
Okay.
who lives further south and has a system that's 3 times bigger.
Wow. Okay.
This guy got 16.75 megawatt hours in 2024,
Okay.
and his self-consumption is over 50%.
Wow, that's impressive.
So location obviously matters, and of course the size of the system.
Right.
But even with a bigger system, he still noticed the weather affecting how much energy he made.
I guess that makes sense. More panels may be more susceptible to the weather.
Yeah, it's not just like more panels equals consistent power all the time. It's not that simple.
Right.
But what can we learn from like the difference in their self-consumption rates?
So a higher self-consumption rate means you're using more of the energy you're making right away instead of sending it back to the grid,
Okay.
which can save you money, especially if your energy company doesn't pay you much for the extra energy you send back.
Yeah, so you want to use what you're making yourself to really get the most out of it.
Exactly. And to do that, you need to know when you use the most energy and try to match that with when your solar panels are making the most energy, like running your dishwasher or doing laundry when it's sunny out.
Oh, that's smart. Yeah. Now, Speaker A actually said that his energy use actually went up this past year.
Oh, really?
And you know what he blames it on?
What?
His kids.
The kids.
His daughter's gotten really into cooking.
Okay.
And let's just say she's not exactly thinking about saving energy in the kitchen.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
It makes you think, though, right?
Yeah.
Like, as technology changes and our lives change, how do we keep up with needing more and more energy? It's something we all need to think about, not just people with solar panels.
It is, yeah.
For sure. So let's change gears a bit and talk about something that's been in the news in Germany. The electronic patient file,
Okay.
or EPA. It's this digital system where they're going to keep everyone's health information.
Okay.
Sounds convenient, but there are some big concerns about how secure that data is.
I bet, yeah.
So the Chaos Computer Club,
Okay.
which is this group of like hackers and security experts,
Mhm.
they actually showed how the EPA system has some serious security problems.
Oh, no.
And the guys in this conversation we're listening to are definitely skeptical.
Yeah, it makes sense.
They're wondering if the EPA even meets the security standards that are required by the GDPR.
Right, yeah.
And for anyone who doesn't know GDPR, that stands for
General Data Protection Regulation.
exactly,
Yeah.
which are basically rules to protect people's data in the European Union. So it has these really high standards for data protection. And one of the guys even said he thinks the German government might be breaking GDPR rules with this whole EPA thing.
Well, wow.
It's a pretty big statement, but it shows how tricky it is to balance convenience with keeping our information private.
For sure.
Yeah. It's a little scary to think about your medical records just being out there for anyone to see.
Yeah, it makes you think, what's more important, convenience or security?
Exactly. And it's not an easy answer.
No, it's not.
You know, it's interesting, though, how those guys used humor and sarcasm to talk about all this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were joking about how slow Germany is with technology projects.
Classic.
And they even made fun of the idea of switching to hydrogen-powered heating anytime soon.
Okay.
It's like they're saying, yeah, we know things take time, but come on, let's speed things up a bit.
Yeah.
It's refreshing to hear these kinds of topics talked about with a bit of humor, don't you think?
It is. It makes it more approachable.
Yeah, but I think it also shows that they understand how complicated and sometimes ridiculous things are as technology keeps changing so fast.
Right.
And that brings up a really important point. Individual responsibility in this digital age.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, let's take a quick break to gather our thoughts.
Yeah, it kind of helps to laugh about it sometimes. You know?
It does, yeah. It's like they're finding the humor in feeling a bit overwhelmed. Like those jokes about hydrogen heating.
Right.
It's not that they don't like the idea of it,
Yeah.
but it just shows how far away we are from that actually happening, you know?
It's like this vision of the future bumping up against reality.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that connects back to the whole EPA thing, too. Like, maybe things are moving too fast with these big digital systems.
Right.
And they're not really thinking enough about what could go wrong.
Yeah, that's a good point. It makes you wonder,
Yeah.
if those guys were actually designing the EPA, right, what would they focus on? Would they make security the top priority, even if it meant it wasn't as easy to use?
That's a great question. And I think it gets to the heart of what we're talking about here. Individual responsibility. We can't just assume everything's going to be fine because of technology, you know?
Yeah, we have to start asking those tough questions.
So what does that look like in real life? Like, I'm not a tech expert, but I do care about my privacy. What can I do to protect my data?
Well, when it comes to something like the EPA, you have the right to see your own data
Okay.
and even ask them to fix it if it's wrong. And it's worth looking into how secure they say they are.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do they use encryption? Have they had any data breaches in the past?
Those are all good things to check. So it's about being informed and making choices.
Exactly.
Like, maybe I don't need to tell every doctor I see my entire medical history.
Yeah, you have to decide what level of privacy you're comfortable with.
Right.
And it's the same with energy. Even without solar panels, there are things you can do to be more aware of how much energy you're using.
Like what? Give me some examples. I'm always trying to be more eco-friendly.
It could be as simple as turning off lights when you leave a room or unplugging things you're not using. Or maybe you could buy energy-efficient appliances or switch to LED light bulbs.
Oh, yeah. I've been meaning to switch to LEDs. Don't they last forever?
Well, they do last a lot longer than regular bulbs,
Okay.
and they use way less energy.
Right.
So it's good for your wallet and the environment.
See, these are the kind of practical tips I need. It's easy to get lost in the big picture,
Yeah.
but sometimes it's the small things that make a difference.
Absolutely. And that's what's so great about individual responsibility. We may not be able to control everything,
Right.
but we can control our own choices. And when a lot of people make those choices, it can really add up.
It's like we're all part of a big puzzle, and every piece matters.
Exactly. And speaking of the big picture, I think there's one more important thing from this conversation that we haven't really talked about yet.
Okay, what's that?
The importance of humor and perspective.
Oh, you mean like how those guys were able to joke about all the serious stuff?
Exactly. It's not about ignoring the problems.
Right.
It's about finding a way to deal with them without getting too stressed out.
Yeah, because let's be real, the world's changing fast, and there are going to be challenges along the way.
For sure.
But if we can approach those challenges with a little bit of humor and a healthy dose of perspective,
Yeah.
I think we'll be much better prepared for whatever comes next.
Yeah. It's like you got to find that balance, right? Like staying informed, but not letting it get you down.
Exactly, because like at the end of the day, we're all just kind of figuring things out as we go. And sometimes a little laughter makes it easier, you know?
Totally. You know what I think is really cool about this whole conversation?
Yeah.
Is that it all started with something so personal, like those guys talking about their own solar panels and how much energy they use at home.
Right.
And it makes me wonder, like, what if we all had these kinds of conversations more often?
Yeah.
Not just about technology, but about all the stuff that's changing our world. I think we'd be surprised by what we could learn from each other.
For sure. Everyone has their own unique experiences. And when we share those experiences, it helps us understand this crazy, complicated world a little bit better.
It's like that saying, 2 heads are better than 1.
Right. But imagine a whole room full of people just bouncing ideas off each other, sharing their stories, and maybe even cracking a few jokes along the way.
Yeah, that's a great image.
It shows how much we can learn from each other and how we can work together to face the challenges that are coming our way.
Because we're not in this alone.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
We're all in it together.
Exactly. And that brings us back to you, the listener.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on all this? Have you had any experiences with technology, good or bad, that made you think about data privacy or how much energy you use?
We want to hear from you because this isn't just us talking at you.
Right.
It's a conversation we're all having together.
So keep learning, keep asking those tough questions,
Yeah.
and most importantly, keep those conversations going.
For sure.
That's how we grow, that's how we learn, and that's how we build a better future for everyone.
Absolutely. And until next time, deep dive into.
Und Simon wie Power im Spiel. Megawattstunden, das ist ihr Ziel. 605 für Stephanus, 1675 für Simon. Energieträger, die uns alle faszinieren. PV, Power, Auto, Abenteuer, Maler-Missionen, das ist unser Feuer. Mit KI und Technik, wir sind bereit. So kaputt und falsche Spiele, seid ihr dabei? Simon im neuen Auto, Ladeklappen, Banne, beheizbare Frontscheibe, das ist keine Tanne. Marder, Jagdkaninchen, ein wildes Spiel. Doch Simon und Stephanus, die haben das Ziel. PV, Power, Auto, Abenteuer, Maler-Missionen, das ist unser Feuer. Mit KI und Technik, wir sind bereit. So kaputt und falsche Spiele, seid ihr dabei? Erklärt den Podcast Workflow mit KI und Tricks, das geht sowieso. AfD wird zur NSA, FD, lustige Übertreibungen, das tut nicht weh. PV, Power, Auto, Abenteuer, Maler-Missionen, das ist unser Feuer. Mit KI und Technik, wir sind bereit. So kaputt und falsche Spiele, seid ihr dabei? Stephanus und Simon, das dynamische Duo. Mit nerdigen Themen, das ist unser Credo. Freut euch auf die Show, es wird ein Fest. So kaputt und falsche Spiele, das ist der Rest. Silberner und Simon, PV Power im Spiel. Megawattstunden, das ist ihr Ziel. 6,5 für Stephanus, 1675 für Simon. Energieträger, die uns alle faszinieren. PV Power, Auto, Abenteuer, Marder-Missionen, das ist unser Feuer. Mit KI und Technik, wir sind bereit. So kaputt und falsche Spiele, seid ihr dabei? Stephanus und Simon, das dynamische Duo. Mit nerdigen Themen, das ist unser Credo. Freut euch auf die Show, es wird ein Fest. So kaputt und falsche Spiele, das ist der Rest. Energieträger, die uns alle faszinieren. PV, Power, Auto, Abenteuer, Maler-Missionen, das ist unser Feuer. Mit KI und Technik, wir sind bereit. Zuckerbrot und Peitschenspiele, seid ihr dabei? Simon im neuen Auto, Ladeklappen, Panne, beheizbare Frontscheibe, das ist keine Tanne. Maler, Jagdkaninchen, ein wildes Spiel. Doch Simon und Stephanus, die haben das Ziel. PV, Power, Auto, Abenteuer, Maler-Missionen, das ist unser Feuer. Mit KI und Technik, wir sind bereit. Zuckerbrot und Peitschenspiel, seid ihr dabei? Stephanus erklärt den Podcast Workflow mit KI und Tricks, das geht sowieso. AfD wird zur NSA, FD lustig